Paul McCartney, the enduring voice behind some of the most timeless melodies in rock history, has once again opened a window into his soul, offering a poignant reflection on the seismic shift that defined his post-Beatles era. In the pages of his latest literary endeavor, an oral history titled Wings, the story of a band on the run, McCartney delves into the raw, unfiltered emotions that accompanied the dissolution of the Beatles in 1970. This isn't just a nostalgic recounting, it's a masterful tapestry woven from threads of heartbreak, triumph, and unyielding creativity, reminding us why McCartney remains one of music's most profound storytellers. At 83 years young, his words resonate with the clarity of someone who has not only survived the explosion of fame but has masterfully orchestrated his own encore. Imagine the year 1970. The world is still buzzing from the cultural revolution sparked by four lads from Liverpool, but behind the scenes, the harmony fractures irreparably. McCartney describes the breakup not as a gentle fade-out, but as the atom bomb, a cataclysmic event that obliterated not just a band, but a brotherhood forged in the smoky clubs of Hamburg and the electric frenzy of Shea Stadium. Friendships that once fueled anthems like Hey Jude and Let It Be were severed overnight, leaving McCartney adrift in a sea of silence. The emotional fallout was profound. He speaks of the isolation that followed, the sudden absence of collaborative magic that had defined his every waking moment. Yet, in true McCartney fashion, this devastation becomes the fertile ground for rebirth. The book captures this transition with unflinching honesty, painting a portrait of a man grappling with identity in the shadow of a phenomenon he helped create. From the ashes of the Beatles rose Wings, a venture born out of necessity and nurtured by love. Formed in 1971, the band was McCartney's bold stroke on a blank canvas, co-founded with his late wife Linda Eastman, whose photographic eye and unshakable spirit infused the group with a familial warmth absent in the high-stakes world of their predecessors. Denny Laine, the seasoned guitarist whose tenure with the Moody Blues brought a layer of rock credibility, rounded out the core, creating a lineup that blended accessibility with adventure. Over the next decade, Wings would soar to heights that rivaled the Beatles' commercial dominance, releasing 7 studio albums that collectively sold millions and topped charts worldwide. Hits like Band on the Run, Live and Let Die, and Silly Love Songs weren't mere successors. They were declarations of independence, proving McCartney's genius was inexhaustible. What makes McCartney's reflections in the book so compelling is the excitement he conveys about Wings' improbable ascent. The times with Wings were exciting because we built up to it, he writes, evoking the thrill of grassroots reinvention. Unlike the Beatles, who were thrust into superstardom by a whirlwind of media and mania, Wings demanded a DIY ethos. McCartney recounts the early days with a mix of humor and humility. Impromptu road trips across the UK and Europe, where the band piled into vans with no itinerary, no luxury accommodations, and certainly no entourage. We'd go on the road with no plans, no hotels booked, no gigs lined up, he recalls. It was a far cry from the private jets and adoring crowds of yesteryear. In a stroke of serendipitous strategy, they targeted universities as their proving grounds, campuses teeming with young, open-minded audiences who might appreciate a former Beatles slumming it for authenticity's sake. A completely off-the-wall idea, but I'm glad we did it, McCartney admits, his voice laced with the wisdom of hindsight. These university gigs were more than performances. They were auditions for a new chapter. Picture the scene, a makeshift stage in a drafty lecture hall, McCartney strumming his bass amid the chatter of students nursing pints, Linda behind the keys with her trademark enthusiasm, and Laine riffing solos that bridged the gap between psychedelic experimentation and pop polish. The risks were high, rejection could have spelled the end, but the rewards were electric. Word-of-mouth buzz spread like wildfire, transforming these humble shows into sold-out spectacles. By the mid-1970s, Wings had graduated to arenas, their sound evolving from folk-tinged introspection to arena rock epics. McCartney's songwriting during this period was a revelation, exploring themes of freedom, love, and escape that mirrored his personal odyssey. Band on the Run, the 1973 album that became their magnum opus, was recorded in the sweltering chaos of Lagos, Nigeria, a far-flung locale chosen to shake off creative cobwebs. The title track, with its urgent narrative of evasion and pursuit, became an anthem for anyone chasing dreams against the odds. Yet, for all its glamour, the Wings era was not without its tempests. McCartney candidly addresses the internal frictions, lineup changes, creative clashes, and the relentless pressure of living up to a legacy that loomed like Everest. Linda's role, often critiqued by outsiders as nepotistic, was in fact the band's emotional anchor. Her raw, unpolished vocals on tracks like Cook of the House, added a homey authenticity that endeared Wings to fans. Lane's departure in 1981 marked the end of an era, but not before the band had cemented its place in rock lore. 7 albums, from the rustic charm of Wildlife, 1971, to the polished pop of Back to the Egg, 1979, stand as testaments to a group that refused to rest on laurels. McCartney's reflections highlight the joy in that journey, the late-night jam sessions in Scottish farmhouses, the adrenaline of headlining Wembley, and the quiet satisfaction of proving skeptics wrong. Beyond the mechanics of band life, McCartney's book probes deeper philosophical waters. He confesses a deliberate aversion to dwelling on the past, a mindset that has sustained him through personal tragedies, including Linda's passing in 1998. "I don't spend a lot of time looking back in general," he muses. "I like to live in the moment like everything else, it's a timing thing." This philosophy isn't mere platitude, it's the compass that guided him from the Beatles' implosion to solo triumphs like McCartney, 1970, a lo-fi gem recorded in his home studio, to collaborations with Youth as the Fireman and his ongoing ventures with classical composers. At 83, McCartney's output remains prodigious, from the Grammy-winning Egypt Station 2018, to his 2021 Broadway musical The Last Days of Mankind, a reminder that reinvention is the true rhythm of his life. McCartney's story is ultimately one of alchemy, turning the lead of loss into the gold of legacy. The Beatles' breakup, that atom bomb, didn't destroy him, it liberated him to explore uncharted sonic territories. Wings wasn't just a band, it was a family, a laboratory for experimentation and a bridge to the future. As he reflects on those university gigs, chaotic, unscripted, alive with possibility, one senses the spark that ignited it all. In a world quick to canonize the past, McCartney's gaze is forward, his spirit as buoyant as the melodies he crafts. This oral history isn't just for superfans, it's a blueprint for anyone navigating their own band on the run, urging us to embrace the blank canvas, book no hotels, and trust the road will reveal itself. Through laughter, loss, and luminous songs, Paul McCartney teaches that the music never truly stops, it simply changes keys.